This review was made possible by contributions from viewers like you.
Hey guys! So far, Descendants has blighted us with 4 novels, 3 movies, and a TV/YouTube show. So the question remains, at this point, what else is there that they can torture us with? Well, how about comic books? Oh yeah, because everything we've seen so far wasn't enough, now we have a Descendants comic book to suffer through. You gotta love this title. Descendants, Twisted Field Trip. I am so sure. Unless these kids are going into Jack Skellington's Halloween Town, I have a hard time believing that there could be anything twisted about this. The Twisted Field Trip part is also written in teeny tiny letters that almost blend in with the background. Yep, that sure says twisted, doesn't it? Hell, the Disney Comics logo is more eye-popping than this title. Wait a minute, why is Disney publishing this through Disney Comics? Why not do it through Marvel?
How dare you blaspheme the good name of Marvel? I know you're a DC guy, but Marvel don't want that shit.
I retract the question. And I had the same gripe with these character designs that I had with those of Wicked World. Was there no way to balance the look of their actors with their animated characters? Why do they look like Rankin Bass puppets? Why are Jay and Carlos approximately 7 heads tall, like human beings are supposed to be, while Evie and Mal are 5 rather bulbous heads tall? What's going on here? Are they actually descended from Helena Bonham Carter's Red Queen? Also, we've got Mal posing, Jay posing, Evie sitting, and Carlos hanging upside down in a tree, from which he can easily fall and break his neck. I haven't even opened the book yet, and I feel like it's trolling me.
Better you than Cameron Boyce.
We open on Auradon Prep, where a sign with difficult-to-read text says, "Welcome to Auradon Prep. Goodness doesn't get any better." It's very depressing that this is the best that good has to offer. Evie and Mal are talking about their weekend plans. Mal is doing nothing and loving it, while Evie plans on making a new skirt out of chiffon. And I hope that she'll have other materials on hand if the skirt is going to be this transparent. I'll be right here, chilling and, keeping a lookout for Uma. I know that we've got this refugee magic user running around after she's sworn revenge on my boyfriend and the entire kingdom, but I'm just really bait. Oh yeah, it appears that this comic is taking place between movies 2 and 3. I can't wait for this comic to show us what horrible atrocities had to happen to kick her ass into uber-vigilant gear. Well, hopefully she'll stay where she belongs. Interesting sentiment from someone who spent her entire life as a criminal. Their plans are interrupted by a couple of mandatory invitations to Auradon Prep Scholastic Camp. Time, this weekend. Place, Sherwood Forest. Just, somewhere in Sherwood Forest at some point over the weekend. And this vague invitation was authorized by the fairy godmother. Sorry, lady, bippity-boppity-boo might make for a fun universal spell, but in a world where magic is forbidden, you need to be a little more specific than this. Speaking of specifics, the second movie said that Sherwood Forest was 6 hours away. I don't know what bugs me more, the idea that this faculty is making these kids camp 6 hours away instead of somewhere a little more convenient. Why would none of the neighboring woods be available to them? Or the fact that, according to this map of Auradon from the Descendants wiki, Sherwood Forest barely looks 20 minutes away from Auradon Prep. Is it stupid because of this, or is it stupid because of that? Who cares? Just throw in all the stupid!
Hang on a minute. Is that Notre Dame next to Sherwood Forest?
Yes, it is. The first movie just kind of glosses over the fact that King Adam united all of these kingdoms into the United States of Auradon, without going into any detail about what that could possibly mean or how he did it. I guess England was perfectly fine with this French king annexing Sherwood Forest and Camelot. The people of China just let him walk away with a substantial chunk of their Great Wall, along with the adjacent land. He just snatched the entire city of Agrabah, along with a few square miles of desert. Why did Greece allow him to take Mount Olympus, and why would he want Mount Olympus when the Greek gods should terrify him? And freaking Neverland? This guy has the means of relocating islands in outer space? Why the hell isn't this story about all of these peoples coming together against the beast who is clearly mad with power? Anyway, the kids prepare to go to their stupid little camp, including Ben? I thought this was supposed to be a trip for the students. Sure, he attended that stupid cotillion thing, but I remember him tending to matters of state a lot more than attending classes with the other kids. I'm pretty sure he's not a student. Why is he going on this trip? And why is he leaving the kingdom in the hands of Lumiere?
Why are you complaining? Lumiere couldn't possibly handle things any worse than Ben.
You're right. He could light the entire kingdom on fire with his little candle hands that he doesn't have anymore, and it still wouldn't be as bad. Oh my god, we haven't even passed page 2 yet. Do you see what I'm talking about here? There's just so much stupid to talk about! Okay, so the kids are all taking horse-drawn coaches to Sherwood Forest. It's a lot faster in a limo. And you're taking coaches instead of cars because... Oh wait, here's why they aren't taking cars, so Chad can deliver this punchline. I can't believe we're sitting in coach.
This isn't funny!
I just hope nothing bad happens while I'm gone. I want to tell you that everything's going to be fine, because the kingdom has several armies at its disposal should it fall under attack. But I can't. Because that would actually make sense. Nope, in reality, the entire defensive strategy is the responsibility of one teenage girl. Fairy Godmother welcomes us to camp, which isn't really so much a camp as it is some poor provincial town. Is this how well off these kids have it? That sleeping in middle-class accommodations counts as camping for them? Look at those lush colors. Yes, so many lush colors like brown and beige. Fairy Godmother explains that there will be no phones, tablets, or TVs allowed while they're camping, much to Chad's dismay. Yeah, sure, he's the only kid here who's going to go into withdrawals. Also joining them on this trip is Doug, who introduced himself as the son of Dopey, since child of famous Disney character is the only identity that these kids have. Seeing him here is suddenly making me think of how close the other dwarves were. If they weren't brothers, then they were at least really good friends. Wouldn't they have raised their kids to be just as close with each other? Why is Doug the only dwarf kid here? Or is Dopey the only dwarf who ever got himself a little gooseberry pie? So they all go to their cabins. This is going to be so much fun, like a slumber party. We can trade secrets and stay up all night talking and doing makeovers. Which is different from your regular routine, how exactly? After Evie spruces up the place with some random fabric swatches that she always carries on her for emergencies, they rummage through a backpack that was left for them, which is filled with items that they're apparently going to need throughout the weekend. Seems like this is the kind of revelation that would require a full-page spread and a list of what these items are, but no, just cram it all into this one little panel in the corner and leave it up to our imaginations. We've got a single bottle of water for the 3 of them to share all weekend, I guess, a notepad, some ribbon, a pencil, an apple, a book on foraging, what, the summer camp doesn't have a mess hall, and something behind Evie's speech bubble that looks like a bicycle pump? And said speech bubble is pointing out the presence of hairpins, wool socks, and bangles. Nothing but the essentials on this trip. We jump over to the boys, who are also taking stock of what's been prepared for them, because why would you want to teach the value of preparation by having these kids bring this stuff themselves? And one of the items is Grumpy's headlamp. I had no idea that that kind of technology was hundreds of years old. Also, they had to make sure that they have Grumpy's headlamp instead of just getting a new one for this little trip. Why? To remind us that Grumpy exists? Just a bunch of junk. My dad couldn't even sell this stuff back on the aisle. Of course he couldn't, since apparently you're just supposed to take whatever you want. Later that night, the kids are enjoying a campfire. The fact that any of these kids can actually start a fire surprises the hell out of me. And Fairy Godmother shows up to tell them that there are going to be a series of challenges that will inspire creativity, trust, and teamwork. 1. Why didn't she tell them any of this during orientation? What were these kids doing before she arrived? 2. What's the point in setting herself up like she's some horrible monster prowling up on them if nobody sees her to be surprised by her? For some reason, Mal is worried about their chances for survival. Jay points out that surviving on the island was much more difficult than anything Sherwood Forest could throw at them. And I have to agree. Remember, nobody from Auradon actually feeds them. Frankly, I'm amazed that none of these villains have ever resorted to cannibalism. Before going to bed, Chad wants to tell a spooky campfire story. Ben suggests the tale of the Headless Horseman, who Mal has apparently hung out with somehow. Doug wants to hear the story of the cursed coin of Sherwood Forest, but Chad settles on the story of the hitchhiking ghosts? Okay. Descendants, you have this uncanny ability to completely destroy everything that you touch. It's bad enough that you've done this with every Disney movie that you happen to come across, but damn it, you stay away from the Haunted Mansion! Do you hear me? Chad starts to tell a story, and then we cut to a few hours later, where the girls are walking back to their cabins. Nice. They couldn't think of a scary story for the hitchhiking ghosts. They couldn't think of a way to make a scary story funny because Chad is a comically inept storyteller, so they just leave it up to the girls to tell us that they're scared. Also, Fairy Godmother told them to go to bed, and they're still out there hours later? I know the discipline is very lax around here, but come on! Mal asks Jane about the coin that Doug mentioned earlier, and Jane informs her of how legend tells of an enchanted coin that found its way to Robin Hood, and it could either give the person who possessed it a moment of great fortune, or a vague, unspecified curse. It's allegedly still lost in Sherwood Forest somewhere, making me wonder why King Adam wouldn't tear this place apart looking for it. If anything in the space-time continuum is considered a threat, he wants it so it can be not locked away in a museum that has the security of a wet paper bag. And yes, this story just mentioned Robin Hood. What the hell is Robin Hood doing in this universe? The next day comes, and it's time for the kids to do their first challenge, for which they need to pick their colors. Mal chooses purple, Carlos chooses red, and Dude chooses golden wheat with sandy highlights. Gray. You're a dog. The color you're supposed to pick is gray.
Ooh, I said no gray M&Ms. These are all gray.
No, actually, they're picking blue or yellow wristbands to divide them into teams. Ben gets blue, Mal gets yellow, Jane gets blue, Evie gets yellow, and Dude gets... I'm colorblind. A little help? No. You're too late to do the colorblind joke now, comic. You've already established that he knows what golden wheat with sandy highlights is. Their first challenge is to forage for breakfast. Yeah, they're dead. Chet is about to demonstrate how stupid it is to send a bunch of inexperienced teens to just start eating whatever they can find, but Doug saves him, pointing out how poisonous these berries are. Those are cuckoo pint berries. I have a couple of spells that use them. So nobody sends any food to the Isle of the Lost, but they do send you poisonous berries that you can use in magic potions?
That seems inefficient.
Evie points out that it's too bad they can't just magic up some breakfast, and this somehow gives Mal the idea to go back into the cabins, pick the locks of the kitchen that I guess they have, and forage everything they can from it in order to make some pancakes. And Fairy Godmother's totally fine with this. There's your first life lesson, boys and girls. When all else fails, cheat! Their next challenge is a variation of Capture the Flag, except with bags of gold, but also armed with non-lethal paint arrows, but don't expect Fairy Godmother to give them proper eye protection or anything like that. That would be irresponsible, which would be just ridiculous, am I right? Also, what the hell is up with this map? I thought they were in a forest. Why are they looking at a map of an island?
Obviously, the beast freaked out again and relocated the entire forest, plopping it into the ocean while they were sleeping.
The game begins, and they go back and forth, each team almost capturing the other's gold, some teammates getting shot and sent to jail and released again, and the game comes to an end when Jay creates a distraction with a fake bag of gold, allowing Carlos to win the other team's real bag of gold. And that, boys and girls, is your next life lesson. Cheat again! And just like before, Fairy Godmother is totally fine with this, too. This VK still got it. 'Cause you're rotten. To the core. Oh my god, I hate this franchise. What are you trying to say, Descendants? That we're all supposed to try to be good, but being bad is fine when it's convenient? Later that night, Mal says that she wants to look for the magic coin that Jane mentioned earlier, in case Uma comes back. For those of you who have forgotten what stopped Uma from attacking Auradon the last time, here you go.
It's got to stop! This isn't the answer! Uma, I know you want what is best for the Isle. Help me make a difference.
If Uma comes back, all that you need to do is wave your finger at her and say that you shouldn't do that.
That's not a good face. Never make that face again.
Evie agrees, and they set out to look for the coin with absolutely no idea of where they should start looking. Evie eventually thinks that they should look for the largest oak tree in the forest, since Doug said it was where Robin Hood and his merry men lived. 1. Doug never said anything of the sort. 2. If we're going by Disney lore, and why wouldn't we, Robin Hood and his merry men lived behind a waterfall. It turns out that Carlos, Jay, and Dude are here looking for the coin too, and Mal just happens to find it after spending a few minutes casually looking around in the most obvious place she could look. Yeah, how has this thing been missing for hundreds of years when only the slightest bit of effort was required to find it? The kids themselves question why it was so easy to find, but Jay's theory that maybe it just magically finds its way back here is enough for them to just drop the question, and they go back to their cabins. You see, it's not a plot hole if someone just says, "It's magic, I don't have to explain it." They wake up the next morning to find that the camp has completely disappeared. Convinced that the coin is most definitely cursed, Mal tries to redeem her get one free moment of good fortune to undo the curse, but it doesn't work. Come on, Mal. You know you can't use a magical object's wish to undo its own curse. I don't know. What about the genie's magic lamp?
Or the Black Cauldron.
Or even the curse itself can be reworked into self-reversal. Sleeping Beauty, anyone? Ben points out that the compass that was in his backpack of holding isn't working, and it's never brought up again in this story. Good to know that these girls got more use out of their hairpins that were included for lockpicking. Doug and Chad find a note arrowed into a tree, saying, "Follow the signs left behind, to where the merry men run and climb. Right or left, follow the clues. Time to walk the path you choose." Great. We've officially turned into a Suburban Nights comic. The two teams split paths, since why would they want to stay together in case of an emergency like this? And the blue team soon comes across a network of trees joined together by rope bridges that looks more like something out of Star Wars than Robin Hood. Oh my god, we're delving into Star Wars Descendants. Wow, the view from up here is amazing. Yeah, what could be more amazing than vague shapes meant to imply the treetops in a light blue gradient? The four of them come across a boat suspended between the trees, but it can only carry 2 people at a time. Jane comes up with the brilliant idea of Jay and Ben crossing first, Jay coming back on his own and then taking Carlos across, and finally taking Duke and herself, apparently making her an outdoor ed genius. Our easily impressed heroes, everyone. The yellow team runs into the same problem, and they manage to cross thanks to using those bangles like a zipline. Yeah, this looks safe. Also, good to know that these kids are able to make better use of bracelets for makeshift ziplines, but their compasses are completely useless. The blue team catches up with the yellow, on a path that looks like they could have just walked around the trees and remained safely on the ground, and they make a dash to the next clue, which reads, "Treetop heights will seem quite mild, once you ride the river wild. Select your raft if ye dare, but of the dangers be aware." And again, not a single teacher or camp counselor in sight. There's no way that this can end badly. They blow up the rafts provided for them, like the kind that Robin Hood and his merry men used, and they're on their way. Since Mal is completely freaked out by the squid girl who ran off because she was shamed into submission, she sees what she thinks is one of Uma's tentacles, but it's just a branch sticking out of the water. It ends up ripping the blue team's raft, and while the yellow team is perfectly fine going over this little waterfall, Evie doesn't think that the blue team is going to be so lucky. So Mal uses the coin to wish that the blue team will be alright, lest her friends suffer a fate worse than dryness. I am so confused. Mal wants to save this ultimate lucky ace in the hole for when Uma shows up next because she needs every advantage that she can get her hands on, but the possibility of her friends falling into what looks like a pretty gentle river is enough for her to throw it away?
Mal's pretty stupid. We've established this.
Just like Jay suggested, the coin poofs away until the next time it's easily found and squandered. And why doesn't Mal just go back and get it again now that she knows where to find it? You were right about needing the coin. Even Fairy Godmother would give you an A in Remedial Goodness 101. Or she'd give you a big fat F for relying on magic to solve your problems. Again. That was the ultimate in being prepared. It was the ultimate in being stupidly lucky. We really are better when we all work together, huh? Of course you wouldn't have realized this if you didn't wig out and attack a passing tree branch. Hooray for paranoia! And then Fairy Godmother and the rest of the camp just magically appear with no explanation as to where they went or why. Brilliant. Oh, my dears, I knew you'd all be safe. After all, you had a lucky charm. You did? Why, I'm speaking of Jane, of course. She's my lucky charm. You had better not be implying that you were counting on these kids to be disobedient in order for them to succeed! They enjoy a campfire with the painfully forced conclusion that they're all better off when they work together, and I'm sitting here rolling my eyes since none of this will be remembered by the time the third movie comes around. Oh, and Mal sees some spooky twinkling in the woods that will never be followed up on, thank God. So that was Descendants' Twisted Field Trip, and it's the kind of field trip that really makes you appreciate finally going home. The artwork is passable, giving us stylized likenesses of our heroes, but it doesn't take advantage of the medium. Things like the camp disappearing or the view from the treetops could have benefited from larger compositions, but everything is crammed in the same tiny panels over and over again. The story is a confusing mess, but it's Descendants. Of course it's going to be a confusing mess. Why is this taking place in Sherwood Forest when it has nothing to do with Robin Hood? How does Robin Hood even exist in this universe? Why would Sherwood Forest be relocated into Auradon along with the other kingdoms instead of having Robin Hood tossed into the Isle of the Lost, since he's technically a villain stealing from the aristocracy? If other people know about that stupid coin going back to Robin Hood's tree after it's been used, why isn't the tree relocated to a more convenient place where everyone can use it? Why is Mal so terrified of Uma? Why do they have these backpacks full of junk but only half of it was used? If the entire story revolved around this stupid magic coin, why didn't we have Doug tell the story of it? And why did we waste hours on Chad telling a meaningless story about the hitchhiking ghosts? Now that we're done with this piece of garbage, I'm going to enjoy some Haunted Mansion comics to wash the taste of this out of my brain. See you later.
Hello, mother. Hello, father. Here I am at Camp Granada. Camp is very entertaining, and they say we'll have some fun if it stops raining. I went hiking with Joe Spivey. He developed poison ivy. You remember Leonard Skinner? He got ptomaine poisoning last night after dinner. All the counselors hate the waiters, and the lake has alligators, and the head coach wants no sissies, so he reads to us from something called Ulysses. Now I don't want this should scare you, but my bunkmate has malaria. You remember Jeffrey Hardy? They're about to organize a searching party. Take me home, oh mother, father, take me home. I hate Granada, don't leave me out in the forest where I might get eaten by a bear. Take me home, I promise I will not make noise or mess the house with other boys. Oh, please don't make me stay. I've been here one whole day. Dearest father, darling mother, how's my precious little brother? Let me come home if you miss me. I would even let Aunt Bertha hug and kiss me. Wait a minute, it stopped hailing. Guys are swimming, guys are sailing. playing baseball. Gee, that's better. Mother, father, kindly disregard this letter.
They say I'm naughty, they say I'm wrong. Teachers and me don't get along.
They call me misfit, I think I'm cute. You know I'm wicked, down to the root. Ow!
They say I don't belong, and my dad's not a villain. But name another girl that does as much killing. Most other kids would be outside playing. I'd rather slit some throats and see that blood spraying. I'm wicked to the root, so you better be wearing me. I watched my father die and never got therapy. Next one who says I don't belong in this place will be the first motherfucker to get stabbed in the face.
Wow, that was actually really good.
Why the would you kill him?
If I didn't, I'd be all talk.
Subscribe, like, follow, comment, share, watch more.